On the final day of the term, the Supreme Court handed down the most significant environmental decision in years. I know you're probably thinking, boring, but I promise you, it's not in the weeds, it's not boring. This decision has much bigger implications. In fact, in her dissent, Justice Elena Kagan referred to this decision as frightening, which is a word justices don't often use. In a 6-3 ruling, the justices said the Environmental Protection Agency does not have the power to reduce carbon output of existing power plants on a wide scale. It's not that the EPA has no power to regulate carbon emissions. This ruling says they just can't issue major, wide-ranging shifts without Congress. Regardless, this delivers a huge blow to the Biden administration's plans to combat climate change.
So think about this, guys. I want you to think about how far to the right this country has gone, even within the Republican Party. Okay. Yesterday, the Supreme Court ruled that the EPA basically can't do what it was created to do. The irony of it all is that the Environmental Protection Agency was created under the Nixon administration in 1970. Republicans created the Environmental Protection Agency, and they've moved so far to the right that they've totally forgotten about that. But as we know, this is just a ploy and a play for big oil companies to make more money, specifically Koch Industries, who funded all three of those new conservative Supreme Courts to get on that bench. Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, Neil Gorsuch. All three of those Supreme Court justices were funded and pushed by the Koch brothers. Why did the Koch brothers hate the EPA so much? Well, they're one of the main organizations who are constantly on their coattails. That's why. So the Supreme Court made the decision that it made for the Environmental Protection Agency, mainly for one man, the Koch.
But just under the surface was a much deeper debate over how much authority federal agencies have to issue rules and regulations when they're not explicitly authorized by Congress. Now, if you've ever read a bill passed by Congress, you know they're often written very broadly, focused on big ideas and less on granular specifics. Then those laws are left to the authority and expertise of federal agencies like the EPA or the IRS to put those ideas into practice in the real world by issuing regulations and rules based on their expertise. Well, in his majority opinion, Chief Justice Roberts said, no, federal agencies need expressed and specific authority from Congress to make major decisions like this one. He said capping carbon dioxide emissions at a level that will force a nationwide transition away from the use of coal to generate electricity may be a sensible solution to the crisis of the day, but it is not plausible that Congress gave EPA the authority to adopt on its own such a regulatory scheme. Congress did give the EPA authority years ago under the Clean Air Act to select the best system of emission reduction for power plants, but according to today's majority opinion, that's not specific enough.
That's what I'm going to start calling the remaining Koch brother, the Koch, because he is the speed in the system. He is that fat white line that has all these politicians going so crazy. Yes, indeed. But let's talk more about this, okay? The Environmental Protection Agency, which was made to basically keep our air, our water, and our food safe. You know, all those unimportant things that don't really matter so much, right? Now, well, according to the Supreme Court, it's up to Congress to regulate the environment. It's up to Congress. Congress is what put the EPA into existence. And now Congress, which can never be on board with the same thing, Congress can never, ever be in line with anything other than raising the military budget. Other than that, you know, there's always going to be nothing but extreme partisanship. The Supreme Court and Koch Industries know good and damn well that nothing is going to pass through Congress anytime soon that's going to assist with protecting the climate. They're fully aware of that, and that's why they made the decision that they made.
To which Justice Kagan wrote, the court appoints itself instead of Congress or the expert agency, the decision maker on climate policy. I cannot think of many things more frightening. And why is she using that word? If you've been following me for any amount of time, you know how difficult it is for Congress to pass anything, let alone extremely specific laws like delegation of specific powers to federal agencies to make specific rules on specific controversial topics. She's saying this ruling could, in essence, paralyze federal agencies when it comes to big issues because Congress can't or won't act.
One of the biggest ironies of it all, the fact that a handful of unelected elites who are acting like dictators and autocrats over the country, the biggest irony is that, okay, so as climate continues to worsen for our survival, as we talk about on this channel all the time, that's going to make the migration issue much more steep. People are going to be flooding into this country, flooding into all other countries. And what are you going to do then? Well, according to a lot of far right-wing conservatives, just shoot them at the border, build the wall. I guess we're going to have to build a wall that's 1,000 feet high around all of the borders all around the United States to stop the people from influxing into this country. It's really just a shame, and it's easy to become disheartened, but the truth is that humanity has made it through many a struggle. And I fully believe that we're going to do the same thing now. And that's why it's our responsibility for us to be the change that we want to see, like I always in these videos.